We're talking to Mrs. Debbie Runions, and the topic is AIDS and white females. And of course, Ms. Runions, let's give you, during this last segment, an opportunity to talk about some of your activities. We also know that you've been connected with the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia, and you've occupied not only positions there, but you have an insight into what is going on in reference to this disease, and perhaps a better insight perhaps than most people would have, primarily because of your relationship with that organization. Let's talk about you and the CDC.
Okay. I work for the Division of Adolescent School Health, and every state in the union who chooses can have money from the CDC to do HIV education. Not every state chooses to do that, but Tennessee does and has for a very long time. When I was talking about the vaccine is going to be years away. When I was on the President's Advisory Council, we asked him to set a date certain, which was 2007, that we would try to do the same as Kennedy when he said, let's go to the moon in 10 years. So our thing was, let's get a vaccine in 10 years. It's very difficult to get a vaccine with HIV because the virus mutates so much, and because there's so many different strains. Now we have drug resistant strains because of those of us who don't take our medicines exactly correctly. And let me just say, it's very difficult to take the medicine correctly. I have a degree, and I had to call my doctor this week and say, am I supposed to be taking 2 of these a day or 1? Or and so I had it all messed up. Plus, it's hard to remember, did I take this in the morning or was that yesterday? So we create mutant strains, and then the vaccine is going to have to deal with that too. The other problem we have is drug manufacturers do not want to work on a vaccine because you're going to have to give the vaccine to the world. It's not going to make a lot of money. Not for the drug company. So they don't want to do it. And you know what they actually said to us on the international panel? They said, if we have a chance to make a vaccine, spend all of our research and development money on a vaccine that we have to give away, or we have a chance to put some more research and development into something like Viagra, what do you think we're going to do?
Okay.
It's just plain old...
Dollar and cents.
It is. It is. And when we said, we will pay the $7 a pill, the $15 a pill, if you will give it to Africa, they said no. We said, just give them the patent, just let them be able to make their own, and they said no.
So you really think that it's possible that they could give us some kind of vaccine in some kind of reasonable time, but they're refusing to do it primarily because they can't sell it? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I believe. That's what I heard.
Of course, you got the insight into it, and
that's what I heard them say. And so I was appalled. But I'll tell you who is funding it, and it's Bill and Melinda Gates. They have put more money into vaccine research than the federal government, and certainly more than pharmaceutical companies. So they are going to give it to the world if they ever get it to happen. But I think that's the only way we're ever going to bring the epidemic to an end, because people's behavior is not going to change that much. I'm in a support group, and one of the very smart people, one of the wise people in my group, said that the reason why we continue to have the epidemic is because it's more important to make a connection than it is to live, because life is not worth living without that connection. We're not going to stop people from connecting. The only thing that's going to bring it to an end, I believe, is a vaccine. And I have had lots of letters telling me that they wished that their tax dollars did not go to support me, keep me alive, don't help me give any medicine.
Now, you found that to be an attitude that people have exhibited in reference to this disease?
In the last 2 years, never until this last 2 years, I'd never had hate mail, but now I get it. And my response is, we're a community, and it's important that we be kind to each other. And I guess the thing that got me on the President's Council and the thing that allowed me to speak at the National Convention is because I have a spiritual outlook on this.
Okay.
I believe that it's here to teach us how to love each other. And the whole story about the pharmaceutical companies, that's not love. Cutting funding for people with HIV is not love. As long as this continues, as long as we continue to be the lepers of society, I don't think there'll be a cure for AIDS. I think it's here to help us.
Well, now, what you're saying is that this is a disease that perhaps we'll have to deal with almost for the rest of, maybe for the rest of this century. It could
I believe
be,
so.
And of course, it's spreading all over the world.
Yes.
Some of the countries in Africa and some of the other countries where the problem is, some of the eastern countries, some of the problems are much greater here than in the United States. And still,
True.
you believe that nobody's going to do anything about to help eradicate this disease?
You know, I really want to believe in the goodness of people, but right now I'm having a hard time. And after I got through on the President's Council, I went in a true believer. And I thought I could make a difference. I thought we could make a difference. I thought we could bring an end to HIV in America. And I think we could have. But there is no political will to do that. And that was with someone who loved us.
Okay.
I don't think we've ever had a better friend than Bill Clinton. He loved us. This is not an atmosphere today of love.
That you can feel comfortable in terms of dealing with something like this.
No, no. In fact, I have never worried about speaking to the children until this past year. And you asked me about the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. My friends have left. The people who have been there for 20 years working on AIDS have left because science is being distorted in order to give a moral message, a religious message, a faith-based message, and it's science. It's just, that was one thing that we kept emphasizing. Follow the science. If the science says this works, let's give that a try.
But they're not willing to follow the science of it all. You know, as an educator and as an HIV prevention educator, let's use your knowledge over the last 2 minutes that we have to have you to speak to young people in reference to this disease. Take the entire 2 minutes to sort of give some of the information that you give when you go out and talk to them, and so, because I think many of them are here listening to us now. Go on.
I talk to kids about my own life, and I tell them that I got pregnant at 17 and I didn't realize I wasn't a virgin because nobody would talk to me. And today, we still have people who don't want to discuss these issues. So they have to find a safe person. Sometimes I'm the safe person. I'm a grandmotherly person at this point, and the kids feel safe with me, but they have to find a safe person to tell them everything they need to know about sexuality so that they can be safe. If they don't have information, they're going to make mistakes. They're kids. Their brains are not fully developed yet. The brains won't be developed until they're 25. So you've got a partial brain up here, hormones raging, and a body that is able to be sexually active. It's a recipe for disaster.
Well, do you think, over the last minute, do you think that to include more sexuality information in the curriculum of public schools and elementary schools and et cetera would, in the long run, have an impact upon this disease?
I think it has to. And not abstinence only. You can't just say don't say no to teenagers. They're not right. They're not thinking straight. They can't say no sometimes.
But we can influence them if we were to put into the curriculum of some of these schools this whole idea of the impact that this disease is having upon everybody. Is that right?
That's right. And kids never think it's going to happen to them. But one of the things I tell them is, if it can happen to me, I'm about the most boring person you ever met. If it can happen to me, it can happen to you. And somebody in this class is going to die in a car wreck on prom night. And somebody's going to get pregnant, and somebody's going to get an STD.
Mr. Runions, let me thank you for giving us that excellent information. Let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.